Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Customs. Today I'm going to go over Testors dull coat. I get a lot of people asking me what do I use to seal my paints. I don't have a specific formula for sealing my statues, basically because if I'm doing a shiny outfit, that's going to get a gloss coat sealant. If I do flesh tones, that's always flat. That's going to get my dull coat sealant. If I'm working on like an outfit that's a spandex, I'm going to use Testors dull coat seal, but then I'm going to flat coat it with Garage Kits flat. So I'm not the type of person to take an item, paint it up, and then seal it all in one shot with a paint, and then that's it. I do seal it with different sealants in different areas. So if I'm masking off, him, I'll seal him. I'll paint the flesh tone first. I'll seal him in dull coat, mask him off. Then I do the outfit, and I seal that a different way. So I work differently. But if you're gonna do a whole statue, you want to flat coat it all. Testors dull coat works very well, but you got to understand Testors dull coat's potent. So with that being said, if you use it inside, you're going to get a really harsh fumes, and it's very dangerous. You want to use it in well-ventilated area, especially coming from the can. If you have a spray booth like I have right here, it's pretty good. But even, I find that it's so potent that even with a booth sucking out all the fumes, you want to let it suck it out for a while because it likes to linger on the statue too. So if you spray it on the statue while it's drying, that fume is still coming off the statue. So you want to be careful with that. But, Testors dull coat works great, but it's very, you can't use it with certain paints, so I'm going to kind of go over that. So, first off, say I paint up this Power Girl I'm working on, all in flesh tone. First I do the legs, the breast, and the head, all the flesh tones first. That's how I usually work, unless it's chrome. But basically with this, it's I would do the flesh tone first. Now, once I'm done with the flesh, I'm going to seal it in Testors dull coat. I'll show you how I spray farther away, but you don't want to spray too close, because if you spray too close, you start to soak in there, and that Testors dull coat starts to melt paints. It won't, like certain paints, it'll kind of melt it and soften it up, but as long as you let it dry, you're going to be fine. If you sit there and you soften it up and then you start touching it and masking it, you're going to run into issues. So Testors, you need to spray and let it sit. Now when I work on my flesh tones, I spray it once, a nice mist coat, I spray it again, and then I do some heavier coats because I like my flesh tone to kind of melt together and kind of really seal well, because if you don't do a really enough sealing and then you're going to do the rest of the statue and you got a kind of a mark on it, you don't really have that clear coat that's sturdy enough on it. So I kind of like to give a couple coats on flesh and really make sure the flesh is solid and secure. Then once that's done, I haven't had a problem with Testors hitting primer. Like this is filler primer, and that's mostly what I work in mostly. I haven't seen any problem with the Testors hitting the primer. It might melt it a little bit, but it might soften it, but it doesn't actually react or give any issues, at least with Duplicolor filler primer. I haven't found any problems. Now, as far as Garage Kits flesh, that's what I use mostly for my flesh tones. No problems. I love Testors on it. It works out pretty well. Really seal up a lot of stuff. Now, this isn't sealed with it. This was just showing you exactly, this is something I was working on. But I never really use Testors dull coat for everything. So basically, if I'm working on him and I do my Testors dull coat on the face, I mask this off and then I start doing this. Now, the reason why I'll dull coat the flesh is because I want flesh dull, but then when I work on the outfit, I'm doing different types of sealants. Like I might seal it with Testors gloss coat, or I might seal it with Testors dull coat a little bit to flatten it a little bit, but then I might go in with a Garage Kits flat coat and really flatten it. So a lot of people are always asking, what do you do to seal your whole statue? I don't seal it all in one sealant. I use different seals and different coats in different parts of the statue. So I never really take a whole statue and seal it. Testors dull coat will melt some paints. Like here is some acrylichrome. Some Garage Kits acrylichrome I was testing with some clear coats over this. And this is a Tamiya chrome silver with Tamiya clear red. And this will melt these paints. This will melt alclad chrome. You don't use this on your gloss coats, candy coat paints, because that's where you run into issues. So you have to know that this is going to work for certain paints, but it's not going to work for others. So you got to kind of understand that, Testors dull coat is not meant for sealing every specific paint for specific looks. You got to kind of understand that, okay, I want her red to be glossy, but when I do her blue here on the Spider Girl, I want it to be more like this. So you don't seal this, you do this one way and then you do that the other way. So, Testors Dull Coat will melt Silly Putty. But it melts it if you have it masked off on statue. Like if I have him masked off here, and then I spray the Testors Dull Coat, it will melt the Silly Putty, but you let it dry, you let it evaporate, you let it just sit for a little bit, and then the Silly Putty comes back. But I think if you spray a Testors Dull Coat on a lot of Silly Putty and you keep mixing it, it's going to get to the point where your Silly Putty is just kind of like tacky and you want to throw it away. But I haven't had a problem with, just spraying it, misting on stuff. So I'm going to set up, I'm going to show you some stuff what happens with this Testors Dull Coat. So this way it gives you an idea of what you can do and what you can't do. So say we did Garage Kit skin tone, he's all done. We're ready to start sealing him up before we do the eyes, the eyebrows, the hair, and all that stuff. So what you want to do is you don't want to spray up close. That's going to cause an issue. You kind of want to spray a little bit further away and mist it around him. So I'm just going to give you an idea how to kind of mist it and everything. So we're going to kick this on and be a little bit loud, but bear with it. So basically, we're about this far away, and you mist it around. That's kind of like your first coat, and then that's your second, and you let that sit. Now, right away, that's already potent as all hell. You can smell it. It's really pretty strong. Now, it's still a little bit wet in here, but once that starts drying, it flattens down, unless you spray very heavy. Now, it will react if you kind of touch it, so we're going to show you exactly what happens when you spray too heavy and you kind of touch it. So if you spray close, it's wet. And then if you rub your finger on it, you start pulling it off, as you can kind of see. So we'll get up a little closer there. So you will melt paints and you will cause issues. But if you let it evaporate, it's going to be fine. So that's pretty much working with the skin. Not really a problem, but like I said, if you try to do that, you're going to run into issues. Now, because it's wet, the fume is still coming off of it. You can take a blow dryer and kind of blow it, but you don't want to have the fumes really potent and kick on that blow dryer, then you might blow yourself up, so you don't want to do that. But it's still a little wet, and if you kind of start messing with it, it starts rubbing off on your fingers and you have problems. You don't want to do that. So spraying heavy and too close is a problem if you don't let it set. So you really want to let it set. Alright, so we're going to set up, we're going to come to the candy coats, and I'll show you what happens with the candy coats. Alright, so this is the candy coat Tamiya Red. Now, candy coats you don't want to spray with Testors Dull Coat at all because you're going to run into problems. It's going to melt it, and that's what we don't want to do. Testors, Tamiya candy coats, or most candy coats, you want to keep them candy and coated and clear and bright, so you want to use Future 4 polish out of an airbrush to keep it sealed, but also keep it sheen and shine. But Testors Dull Coat, you're going to run into issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it on here, and I'm going to show you what happens once it starts melting. Spraying it a little bit far away, you might get away with it, but if you spray it up too close, it starts melting. So we'll get in a little bit closer. And what we're going to do is we're going to spray around the breast area, so this way it gives you an idea. Now I sprayed it on there, it's looking okay, but what happens is it starts to sag, and if you're not careful, you can just pull it up with your finger. As you can see, it comes right off. It's like, it's almost starts melting it. And if you're really crazy and you start spraying it, if you spray too much, it'll just start pulling it down like crazy. So, Testors Dull Coat and candy coats you gotta stay away from. It just starts bubbling, it starts reacting, you start getting all this weird crap happening, so it's not good. So it might be a little bit hard to see. What we'll do is we'll turn off the light, maybe that'll help a little bit. But you start getting these weird reactions, like there's real close bubbling starting to happen, and it starts flowing down, and gravity starts taking it, and you don't want to do that. And it takes forever to dry it, and it just comes right off. So it's just a mess. So Testors Dull Coat, candy coats, stay away. That's a no-no. Okay, here's silly putty. So what I'm gonna do is kick on the fan. I'll spray it with the Testors Dull Coat. Now the Testors Dull Coat might react to some of this and that because this is a Garage Kit's acrylic chrome I was testing with some colors. I think this is the Tamiya red, where I think this might be Alclad clear. So we'll spray it all around and see what happens with both of them. So I sprayed a little heavy just to kind of give you guys an idea. Usually, like I said, I spray far away when I seal stuff, but this is kind of just giving you the idea of what to expect and what happens. So once this starts kicking into the silly putty starts to melt and almost comes off as well. It starts to get very tacky, it starts to seep into it, and then when you go to try to pull it off, it's like, it's slimy, it's sticky, as you can kind of start seeing. It comes off. Like, it's not coming off like it normally would. It starts stacked. It's just all nasty. You kind of want to let that sit and dry a little bit. That'll kind of, silly putty will go back to its normal use. Get in there a little bit more. So it's just very tacky and nasty, and it's just sticking to my finger, and it just comes off, and it's like melting, kinda. It's not even heated melting. It's just melting because it's reacting to it, and it just starts sticking all over on the finger. So once that starts setting up though and drying, the silly putty goes back to normal. But as we can see, it didn't do it. I think, see, this is all very tacky, and it's just very, see, it just comes off of the finger. And then I think this was the, well, it looks like the Alclad clear had no reaction really. Oh, no, it did. It came right off. Oh no, that was the silly putty. See, the silly putty will come off on your finger and it'll go onto the statue, but then once it starts drying, it comes off. So that's pretty cool, because see, we just discovered something new. The Alclad acrylic colors that I have here had no reaction to the Testors Dull Coat, so that's interesting. So that looks like something new that can be discovered. So maybe I'll have to do some more tests with that. But as far as the silly putty, it's, it's still very tacky, but as it starts drying, it goes back. But it's still pretty tacky. So that's what happens with Testors Dull Coat on silly putty. Alright, so there you go. There's some tips and tricks with the silly putty so far. It's been about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. The silly putty is pretty much not as tacky as it was. A little tacky. But once you pick it up and pull it off, you really don't have an issue anymore. So like I said, it might stay, but that's because I sprayed it really, really close and never spray it up close like I just did. But that's just giving you an idea of how it works. But those are some tips and tricks with Testors Dull Coat for now. That's basically, works good with flats and solid paints. Candy coat, stay away from. Chrome, stay away from. Metallic paint, stay away from. Tamiyas, certain paints that will melt Tamiyas. But mostly, Garage Kit colors, Create Tex, Vagellos, Badger paints, and a couple other ones so far, no problems. But that's just giving you an idea of Testors Dull Coat, what happens with certain things. Gives you, a rundown. So hopefully it helped you guys out. I'll probably come up with some more down the line. This is just the kind of things that I discovered right away to kind of help people see what's going on and what doesn't. So remember, always use the Testors Dull Coat far away. Make sure you're about 10, 12 inches away before you spray anything. Never spray up close. If it starts splattering, get rid of the can or get a new nozzle. So hopefully helped you out, and we'll see you guys next time.